Hello there everybody, I'm Mr. GamePie and welcome to Let's Play Sonic Riders Part 12. Today, we're taking on the last of Storm's missions, which is a good thing because Storm's missions are probably the most repetitive missions in the game. Like here, once again, we're starting with another trick sequence. And it's always, well actually I guess even whenever we get into Waves missions, we'll also still start with trick levels. Yeah, this level in particular had, actually now that I think about it, I think just about every level has two big ramps, and then maybe a couple little extra ramps in the middle. There's only a few stages that deviate from this design, I think. But yeah, that's what we have going on here. As per usual, the big buildings in the heaven area don't look like they would be drop-offs that you can jump off of, but they are. So do it, because you need to do that to win, because I barely got through this, actually. I got just enough points for the gold. So yeah, and now of course, we have a junk collecting mission, which those will be staying around in Waves stages, so that's good. Actually, that is good, because you need to grind a lot of junk. Yeah, this junk level in particular is not that interesting. You know, we've got Knuckles in this level, but there's very little for power characters to do. You have that one gargoyle at the very beginning, which you could actually just grind around. I think you could still get the junk that way. Then you have the stained glass windows in the heaven area, which you could just drive past. There's not really any reason to use them. In fact, I'm pretty sure the position of the stained glass windows is random, so there's no guarantee that you'll actually need to break any down to get any of the junk. Yeah, like, see a bunch of these here. There's a stained glass window right behind a junk. But otherwise, I could have gone through the rest of it without having that issue. And there's just this area right here where it's like we've got some walls to break down right in the center lane. And just, yeah, this level isn't very interesting because it's just really straightforward. Nothing is going on here. Top paths are easy to reach. There's no real interesting ability mechanics. It's just probably the worst mission of this area, to be honest. And that's sad, because I usually like the junk collecting missions a lot. So anyway, here we have another get through the area as fast as possible mission. And in this one, you've got Tails, and flight characters don't get to do a whole lot in this level either, honestly. Although that said, this top path is blocked off, and that is bad because you see those hands that are coming out of that pit to the right? Those are entirely capable of grabbing you and dragging you down into the pit. And if they do that, you may as well restart. Also around that turn, if you're on the bottom lane, there's that smoke stuff on the ground. That'll actually, like, make you constantly slide towards the pit as well. So make sure to take the top path if you have the option. You don't have the option in this particular level, which is why it's a little bit difficult, but otherwise, this level really has nothing going for it. It's just a regular lap on the stage. There's not even really... There were a few extra obstacles. There's also going to be a couple more here at the end. There's actually going to be quite a lot at the end, now that I think about it. Yeah, just tons of the pillars right there. And unfortunately, I only actually get a silver rank for this level. Probably because I bumped into the gargoyle right at the beginning. Okay, so next is just Sonic in the level doing grinds. This mission is probably the hardest mission to do in this level because there's a particular grinding segment that you'll see quite a few outtakes of. So this part right here at the beginning is pretty cool because you go down to the bottom path, but then taking the grind rail takes you back up to the top path, and I think that's a really cool thing that they did right there. But otherwise, they never really do anything with this gate to heaven, and I feel like that would be a really cool thing to do something with. Like, maybe have some flight rings that bring you straight up to heaven without having to go through the heavenly light or whatever. But, no, nothing like that happens. Alright, this is the part right here. Notably, it is possible to jump back onto certain ramps if you accidentally fall off. You'll see that in the outtakes. So, if you miss at least one of those ramps, it's not entirely in because you can jump back onto it. But as a whole, it is a very difficult rail grinding segment. I'm not entirely sure why. I just felt myself dropping off a whole lot. You'll see what I mean. Where it's like I jump to reach the next grind rail, but I don't. I end up landing right back onto the first one. And then there's other times where you hear the jump. You hear me jump, but it doesn't actually jump because I'm too far at the end of the rail. And it's just... that happens a lot. Feels like these rails are just a little bit messed up. And then we have our treasure mission, which is basically the Sand Ruins treasure mission all over again. Except it's kind of easier this time. Getting the gold rank is a little bit harder because coming at the pillars that you need to break down is a much more awkward angle, like right here. You see these? Quite a bit of an awkward angle. You'll see exactly what I mean in the outtakes. Yeah, I mean, otherwise... the second set of pillars is super easy to get. It's almost like you can't miss it. They're coming up right here. It's going to be a very narrow area where you've just got the pillars right in the way, and there's not even that many turns that you need to do. There's 8 pillars in a row, and you only need to hit 7 in a row. So even if you happen to miss one, you can still do it. That must make this like the easiest treasure mission of all. But yeah, no need to worry about missing the treasure on this one. It is easy peasy. Also, this last one right here is pretty easy too, as long as you get the turn right at the beginning. So yeah, going for gold, it's a little bit difficult. You'll see that in the outtakes, but silver or bronze, this is one of the easiest missions in the game, I think. Alright, so you see, we take a turn, and nope, I did too wide of a turn. Do the turn, and I get the first couple, but I boost wrong and miss some. And then this one, I'm pretty sure basically the same thing happens. Very difficult moment right there. And let's look at the treasure that we get for doing this particular mission. It's the repair manual for the powerful gear. Now, I've talked about the Turbo Star and the Legend a little bit, but I want to talk about the powerful gear in the fact that it's probably the easiest legendary gear to use. Because the accelerator has like maximum acceleration but almost nothing else. It's almost a worthless ride. The Legend lets you automatically do the best jumps possible off of ramps, but it has terrible stats. The fastest, I haven't mentioned this yet, but the fastest has this ability, I guess you could say, where there are only a few select ways that you can get air with it. If you level up, you get air. If you grab an air capsule, you get air. And if you go to one of the air stops, you get air. But otherwise, tricks don't give you air, and abilities don't give you air either. So, it is a very precise ride that you have to use. You really have to be conservative with it. Also, these sections don't give you air either. That said, it is the fastest ride in the game, so it's definitely worth it to try out, just because of how ridiculously fast you can go. Oh yeah, that happened. I just sort of ricocheted off of all the pins. Fortunately, you can do tricks down here, so that's not too much of a problem. But then the powerful gear. The powerful gear increases your power by a lot, decreases your acceleration some, and then that's it. It doesn't have any bad ability to nerf it. It doesn't have any really bad stats. It's just... It's almost like a regular ride, but with some extra power. And by some extra power, I mean the best power in the game, but... Maybe it's just because power wasn't seen as a very useful stat. Which is something that I would agree with. Power isn't a very useful stat. Still, it's just... If you want to use a legendary ride, you don't want to have to worry about it being really tough to use. The powerful gear is the one that you want to use. Alright, so now we have our junk mission up level. And you'll find that the top path here is often blocked off or a bad idea to go to. Like in the trick level with Amy, it was a bad idea to go to that ramp because there's an extra side ramp down on this pathway. And then here in this mission, it's just blocked off altogether. Also, notably, most missions restrict you from using the Crazy Taxi. You're not allowed to use it. Also, I completely missed some junk here. It's terrible. But don't worry, we'll get the gold rink later. But this mission is an exception. This mission allows you to use the Crazy Taxi, and it is beneficial to do so. Because there are two junk here at the end that if you use the Crazy Taxi, it's almost like automatic. Like this one right here, you have to jump for it if you want it regularly. But whenever getting out of the Crazy Taxi, you automatically jump and just ram into it. So there's no problem there. And the yellow junk at the end is in a similar position where the angle where you get out of the Crazy Taxi allows you to grab it super easily. So that was just a basic run through of the stage, but let's go back to where I messed up, back in the Monkey Ball area. Alright, so I've done perfectly so far. Get these two extra junks. Get this one down here. And now, guys, it's Crazy Taxi time. Crazy Taxi! I really like this. Also, I'm pretty sure that the driver is the same guy every time. Not sure if it's a driver that actually appears in Crazy Taxi or who it would be, but yeah, it's consistent. Green hair, pink shirt dude. That said, I did get some outtakes. Like, messing up the first jump. Yeah, that happened. And again. And then, you know, just flying straight over the flight ring. That's beautiful. Okay, so let's see here. What is next? Alright, so just reach the goal. And who are we working with this time? Why, it's none other than Sonic the Hedgehog. So, this is all standard by now. There's some extra barrels in the road, a couple extra grind rails to work with. I like to jump off this one early to make sure that I can actually get the top area of this pathway because it is very precise to get the top area on this one for some reason. I don't know why. But really, you have to line up your jump practically perfectly to do it. I don't like the Monkey Ball section if you're not playing as a flight character because jumping between these platforms is very awkward to do. As you can see, whenever you go from one side to the other, it'll actually tilt that way. And that can make it difficult to get from one ramp to the other because then you'll be lower than what you might normally be. Of course, we have like a bajillion barrels here. Definitely not a perfect run, but still a good one. Yeah, I got a silver. That's not too bad. Alright, now this mission is actually a little bit annoying. This next one, where you have to break a bunch of objects, barrels specifically. Because, basically, there's a power pathway right here at the beginning. And so I think, you know, I bust the barrels, I do it the awkward angle, just like back in Green Cave, and I get a barrel for it. Except, no. No, if you do that, you skip a barrel. That feels like bad game design right there. You should be awarded, or at least not punished, for taking the power pathway, because that's what they've been having you do the entire time, throughout the entire mission mode. That has been the idea. Take your character's special pathway for optimal results. But in this mission, no. No, it doesn't work like that. And I don't feel like that's right. Of course, having to do more Monkey Ball sections to get the final barrel on that pathway. And once again, the Crazy Taxi is blocked. There's a few extra barrels down here on this pathway, but it's nothing that difficult at all. Just really basic stuff right there. And with that, we get the silver rank because You know, the power pathway wasn't the right way to go. And then we have a little minor outtake here where I completely missed the first barrels of the stage, and it's like, I'm not doing that. Alright, and then we have the final mission of the stage, which is easily the best one. It's a lot like the Green Cave mission, where you're flying through a bunch of flight rings, and it goes to a really cool area. So, let's see how this plays out. I mean, first of all, flying over the power pathway, that's nice. And you fly straight over to the Billy Hatcher ship. It's a good time. But then you keep flying over the Billy Hatcher ship and actually go into the Knights section of the level, which is a lot like how Knights works, as far as I'm aware. Because Knights is a game where you're like flying around a lot, and you go through rings. And so yeah, that's really cool. Also, grab the treasure. It's a very awkward angle to actually grab the treasure and get the next flight ring after it. Now, right about here, I end up missing one of the flight... Yeah, that one right there. I pass right through it somehow. But don't worry, we'll be coming back to do a perfect gold rank on this mission, just like we have been previously. You can also ride the Crazy Taxi on this level, but it's not really any better or worse than just going through the thing regularly. Pretty basic stuff. So anyway, we got the treasure, and at this point, we're basically done with Storm's missions. The treasure is going to be the repair manual for the fastest, and now we can obtain any legendary gear as long as we have the junk to do so. And we don't have the junk to do so for any of them. Still, Waves missions will all have junk missions, and after that, I'm sure we'll be able to afford at least one. That said, talk about Waves missions here while we look at a gold ranked version of this stage. I'm looking forward to getting into them because, while the trick and junk missions return just as much as they've been in this part of the mission mode, there are a lot of other missions that are way more interesting, and some of them that are way more annoying, honestly. Like, throughout this set of missions, we've had Knuckles use the high booster twice. But in Waves missions, we'll be having at least one other ride show up, and it's a pretty cool type of mission that's associated with it. That said, we have all the treasure at this point, so there aren't going to be any more treasure missions, meaning that there's only going to be one mission per level that I'm actually going to bother gold ranking. Or at least one mission per level that I'll make it a personal requirement to gold rank. There might be some others that, you know, I just completely screw up and it's like, nope, I'm restarting, and then I gold rank it, you know. That can happen. Waves missions are, in general, much more difficult than Storm's missions. Although it is kind of interesting how Jet entrusted Storm, of all people, with grabbing all the treasures. That seems like an odd choice. Waves missions focus on the Babylon versions of each of these stages, so... Also, here we have some outtakes, where that one I missed the treasure, and I just decided to restart immediately. And then this one I just missed this ring entirely. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to Waves missions, and let's just go over that screen real quick. Alright. So with that said, I'm Mr. Game Pie, and I'll see you next time.